I will become your familiar Natsumi, I will always protect you. These are the words of a young Harutora to Natsume. But now that they've grown up, everything seems like a distant dream. The once enthusiastic boy now barely makes it through the boring discussions in class, even if the topic involves magic. Luckily, Harutora can look forward to popsicles after class. The perfect treat. On a sunny day, there's even a special message after finishing it, but for him it says curse. Oh, not again. Everything seems to remind him of his destiny. His friend Boji agrees, especially knowing Harutora's lineage. Suddenly, Kakato charges at Harutora, nagging him for not answering her calls. He explains he was in summer school, and she isn't surprised. With that, because he's the king of F's to make it up to her, Harutora reluctantly treats Hakuto to some shaved ice, which she munches until her head hurts. Doji reminds Hakuto of her true motives, and she becomes very serious. She persuades Harutora to become an Onmyo mage. There's no way that he, a member of the Tsuchimikado family and the descendant of Abeno-seimei, wouldn't want to be recognized. As a state on Miami age, everyone wants that. Well, except Harutora. All he wants is an ordinary, peaceful life. Also, he can't even sense spirits and comes from a branch family. As things stand, someone gifted should be the head of the family, not him. And oh, did we mention who the Tsuchimikado family's next leader is? It's none other than Nazima since spring. She's been attending Tokyo's on your prep school. She deserves it more. Besides, Harutora feels better that nobody is counting on him. However, Hakuto implies he can't be so sure of that. The dripping shaved ice in Harutora's pants interrupts the career counseling. Still, Hakuto remains confident that Harutora will become an Onmyo mage someday. While walking home, Harutora tells Taoji that Hakuto's completely clueless. The current Zuki Mikado family isn't distinguished and hidden in obscurity, all thanks to that Yako. Even so, Doji also believes Harutora should go for it. He adds that it's not a question of talent, but of will. And while Harutora doubts himself, Doji believes he does have talent. After seeing Toji off at the train station, Harutora walks home. He stops at the overpass to contemplate when a girl suddenly approaches him. As the wind blows off the girl's hat, Harutora recognizes her as Natsume. Harutora asks Natsume about her studies, and she replies that while the coursework isn't difficult, the tradition is also as the heir apparent, she has no time to idle and make friends. He tells her to lighten up, but she doesn't have that privilege. Not cute at all, he says, now blushing. Natsume meddles Harutora. She will not try to change his way of life. She claims that she can protect the Tsuchimikado family by herself. Then she did some good night and walks away. The following day, Harutora and Toji hear about the news. In Shibuya, Tokyo, the exorcism bureau of the Onmyo agency is successfully purified, a spirit disaster. The majors cage the spirit and chain talismans. Then a man cast a spell and killed it with a sword that's expected from one of the 12 divine generals, the highest rank 4 mage. Harutora realizes that Tokyo is a dangerous place. It's no wonder Natsume was on edge speaking of her, though she understands that Harutora is meant to be not seem as familiar according to tradition. However, it seems like he doesn't want the duty, but Doji hints that she's lonely and in need of his help. As night falls, Doji and Harutora patiently wait for Hakuto so they can go to the fireworks festival together. When she arrives, Harutora blushes as he sees her wearing a yukata. He may not admit it thoroughly, but Takoto looks beautiful tonight. They check out various booths together, but the shooting booth grabs Hulk.Tho's attention. She tries to aim for one of the rewards, but misses, frustrating Harutora as he tries to instruct her. In that case, Hakuto demands that Harutora wins the first prize for her. Well, Harutora tries and fails over and over again. After spending 1,000 yen, he's down to his final shot, focusing on his target. Harutora doesn't want any disturbance, however. Hakuto has something in mind as she moves timidly closer to him. Then she whispers. If you get that for me, I'll give you a kiss. Bang. Well. What do you know? Harutora hits the prize. He wants to confirm what he just heard, but Takuta plays it cool by pretending she didn't say anything. Now for the prize. It's a bubble blower set, but Takoto only wants the ribbon around its box. What the heck? She uses it to tie her hair and to be all cute and shy. At Hera's face. 1,000 yen just for a ribbon, because Harutora hasn't admitted earlier that she looks cute. Very mature of you, Hakoda. After playing with the kids, Pakoda disappears. Later, the boys find her in the wishing area. Harutora finds out that she still wishes for him to be an Onmyo mage. He can't understand why she's so persistent in this, and her words cut him like a knife as he remembers not Simek calling him a liar. Harutora mindlessly hurls the Emma, which immediately offends Hakoda, making her run away from him. He apologizes to Toji for his harshness and explains that he doesn't want to lose his days with his friends. But suddenly Suzuka, the youngest of the 12 divine generals, appears and asks if the head of the Tsuchimikado family wants to participate in her experiment. She thinks Harutora is not Summer, but Doji tells Harutora to just go along with it. Suzuka wants Natsumi's help to perform the Taisen Fukin ritual, but before she can elaborate further, 3 armored cars from beyond multi-agency surround her and sets up a barrier. Suzuki's under arrest for the use of forbidden magic, but she's not the type of person to surrender. She summons Asura, the artificial type model M3. Asura fires a barrage of talismans that stick to the barrier. After hiding Suzuka under her skirt, Asura activates the talismans to burst like water from a dam, crashing onto the ground and dragging the officials through the waves. Asura grabs Harutora by the neck as the water magically disappears. Suddenly, Hakuto comes running toward them. Calling Harutora by his name, Suzuka realizes she's been fooled. She then asks Harutora to send a message to Natsumi. "I will definitely catch you." If he doesn't convey the message to Nazima, Suzuka will cut off his balls, provoking them further. Suzuka gets closer to Harutora's face and kisses him. The fireworks are not the only thing that explodes tonight, but Toko's heart as she hopelessly watches another girl kiss Harutora. Even on the following day, Pakoto's still mad that Harutora but girl it was against his will. She ignores his texts and calls. This frustrates him as he doesn't like what happens but gets blamed either way. Meanwhile, Doji has researched the ritual Suzuka mentioned in the past. Harutora's ancestor Yako performed the spell. Reincarnate someone, but ended up causing the Great Spirit disaster. His failure has disgraced the Tsuchimikado family to this day. There are also rumors that Yako reincarnated as one of his descendants, Nazima. Upon learning this, the boys believe Suzuka might want to reincarnate someone. Unexpectedly, Harutora receives a message from Natsumi asking him to meet her. She apologizes for involving him in her problems. She admits that Suzuki's a child prodigy and that she wouldn't know what to do if she found her. Harutora advises her to return to Tokyo, but she refuses because she has to protect the altar for the ritual. Despite not knowing what to do, she must defend it at all costs. Seeing her resolve, Harutora volunteers to guard the altar on her behalf. Besides, he's also part of the Tsuchimikado family, which makes it his responsibility. He even gives Natsume healing and defense talismans, which he can use to assure her safety. He adds that although he's pretty unlucky, the worst never happens to him. As for Suzuka, he admits that she's cocky, but she has cute moments too. Plus she's dumb enough to have mistaken him for Noxzema. Hearing the word cute sends intrusive thoughts to Natsumi's mind. So Harutora finds Suzuka cute, huh? Lucky you, your first kiss was with a cute girl, not to miss us. Coldly, he trembles with the sudden hostility and knows he's got some explaining to do. However, a jealous girl will never want to listen to any explanation, no matter how rational it is. Oh, suddenly Harutora falls to his knees and vomit, so familiar in the form of a bee. The bee stings Natsumi's neck, taking away her spiritual powers. Although he had no way of knowing Suzuki's true intentions, Harutora still blames himself for not famous predicament. The two set out to the main house to get magic tools to restore her spiritual powers. While on their way, Harutora receives a phone call from Toji, who explains the scenario at the police station and urges him to be cautious. But it's too late for that. As their taxi passes the road, the walls along the street suddenly blow up with water gushing from its holes. It has to be Suzuka. Left with no choice, Harutora steps out and decides to face her while buying Natsume. At time to recover, he heads to the center of the commotion and finds Suzuka already cornered by the bureau. By the looks of it, she's at a disadvantage. Well, not to her. With all her might, she summons Jacob's famous military familiar, Tsuchigumo. Like a spider crawling out of its burrow, Tsuchigumo is ready to pounce on its prey. The bureau's familiar attacks Tsuchigumo with all its strength, but its powers are no match for it. With just 3 strikes Tsuchigumo destroys the poor familiar. Now it's up for some snack time as it spews its web and drops it around the state. Ages, sucking their spiritual powers or is about to escape, but he stops when he overhears Suzuka talking to her bee and calling it Big Brother. His phone unexpectedly rings, alerting Suzuka. Now it's pointless for him to remain hidden. He greets her casually, but she teases him for having a love quarrel with the ugly girl from yesterday. Suzuki's clearly cute but malicious and yet. Harutora senses some humanity in her. Harutora bluntly warns Suzuka that this might not be what her big brother wants because it harms many people. She shouts at him, claiming he doesn't understand how she feels. She reveals that her parents have been experimenting on her since birth. More tragically, they ended up murdering her brother because of their weird obsession. Due to this, she'll do everything to bring her brother back. Even if it means sacrificing herself. Still, Harutora tries to talk some sense into her. He explains that her brother won't be happy to sacrifice her and live alone. He adds that her life is just beginning and she shouldn't waste it. Suddenly, a surviving state mage casts a binding spell on Suzuki's legs. Angered by this, she summons Tsuchiguma to attack the man, but Harutora pushes him away as he hopelessly looks at the monsters. Brian claws about to strike him. Harutora realizes he's done for until someone saves him. Hakuto. Even with Tsuchigumi's claws pierced through her body, she casts a spell to release herself and tame the monster. He rushes to Hakuto, trembling and crying as he can't fathom the situation. It can't be. Why, Hakuto? Why? Sorry for not saying anything, for tricking you. Whispers Hotel. She holds Harutora's face and begs him to just run away. I love you. If you die, I won't forgive you, cries Hakuto. Before she fades away, all that's left of her is a piece of paper. Suzuka interrupts his morning by commenting how disgusted she is. The teammate is familiar, his girlfriend. But Harutora doesn't get this. He doesn't even want to hear anything. Suzuka smirks. Tim and leaves drenched in the rain. Harutora remembers the first time he met Hakuto. It was the first summer of junior high school. She had a strange reaction to seeing him, but she kept following him no matter where he went. He got fed up and chased her until they laughed at how foolish they were. And on the last day of summer, how could they finally told him her name? Harutora runs, cries and screams through the rain until he reaches the main house. Anaximene's waiting. This time he won't stop her from protecting the altar, but help her. He's already decided to become her familiar to make sure Hakuto's sacrifice will never be in vain. He promises to be true to himself and take on his responsibility not to miss Miles, and takes her knife to draw blood from her lips. She gets closer, and with her blood she draws a star on Hawthorne's cheek, using her spiritual powers. Not Sumatrans Harutora into a spirits. Here with this you are mine, says Natsume. That night, Natsume and Harutora ride Yukika's to the shrine. With Hakuto in mind, Harutora is eager to avenge her and fulfill her ambitions for him. Meanwhile, Suzuka has prepared the offerings and her brother's corpse for the ritual. As she expected, some disturbances have arrived. She summons the armored demon soldier. And it immediately releases its webs to create a barrier. Natsume and Harutora land on the ground, learning to Chikuma to follow them. As the demon catches up, they fly again. Harutora shouts at Suzuka to stop her madness. While Natsume insists that the ritual is something the living shouldn't interfere with because it's forbidden for a reason. Their efforts irritate Suzuka because she feels that Sushi Mikado. Family is gatekeeping the ritual, and so she summons Asura, who instantly leaps for an attack. At this point, the pair can neither fly nor run on land. Harutora quickly draws his sword to defend against Chikuma's attacks, but now the monsters strike simultaneously, and Natsumi panics as she can't determine their next move. While they're distracted, Suzuka starts the ritual. Her two monsters. Continue their assault, which leaves Natsume no choice but to pull Yukika's higher, causing Harutora to lose his grip and fall. Natsume immediately summons Sakoto, the dragon that Sushi, Mikado family's guardian beast, and one of the few real dragons in the world. Now it's Hutu's turn to attack Asura into Chikuma, while Natsuna has to catch Harutora again. Asura releases all her weapons, including talismans. That explode, but Takuto remains unscathed. Meanwhile, Natsume views her blood and Harutora's sword with a spell, turning it into an enemy-destroying sword through the power of Sakura. On the other hand, she'll use a bow infused with magic that does not need arrows, Natsume might distract Tsuchigumo while Harutora slashes his sword at him. Though not as graceful as he intended, he still manages to put the demon down. He climbs on top of its head and determinedly breaks its outer core. Natsume finally sees the inner talisman and shoots a magical arrow at it, thus breaking the barrier. Surprisingly touchy, Gumo gets back on its feet and chases after them. Luckily, Pakoto comes to the rescue as she has already gotten rid of Asura, but Suzuka won't let them get to her that easily. She releases a whirlwind of talismans. Immobilizing Natsume and Harutora, with no one else to stop her, Suzuka continues the ritual. The bee enters the corpse, and the blinding light appears. Then the skies open and the dark entity descends. Whatever it is, it's not a god. The corpse fully absorbs the entity, and the ritual is complete. Suzuka is overjoyed when her big brother gets up and says her name. She embraces him passionately. But her big brother grabs her by the throat with a snarling grin. Not enough, he says. This boy isn't the kind and warm big brothers, Suzuka remembers. He keeps repeating. Not enough. Not enough. As he chokes Suzuka even tighter with her remaining breath, Suzuka stutters that she would give her life for him if they could just spend a little more time together. Meanwhile, Harutora looks on, horrified. And conflicted for a moment, he thinks Asuka deserves this for killing Hakuto. Despite his anger, he can't stand by and watch this happen to her. With full force, Harutora breaks free from the talismans. He then frees Nazima, who immediately counters the spells cast upon them. He attempts to grab Suzuki's big brother, but a spirit pulse controls the body, making it impossible to touch. He tries to slash it with a sword. But to no avail. He throws his ancient bag as a last resort, hoping that Sushi Mikado family can work miracles. He has a sudden vision of Yako and his familiar discussing a promise. However, the vision quickly fades as not to make cast a spell to defeat the evil spirit, not to make links to Harutora, and warns him to shut his eyes or his soul will be sucked. Finally, it's over and only Suzuki's cries can be heard. Harutora approaches Suzuka, and she tells him to kill her out of vengeance for Hakuto or whatever reason. Instead, he tells her to see her brother off properly, which makes her cry even harder. Harutora holds the talisman Hakuto left and whispers at it that it's over. He hands it over to Nazima, who sadly informs him that it's beyond repair as the spirit has already left, however with red and cheeks. She adds that the person interacting with Baradora through Hakuto is still alive. Whoever that is, Harutora hopes he'll get to meet her someday. The following day, Harutora tells Doji about everything that happened. Doji, on the other hand, isn't that surprised to learn that Takoto was a familiar, since he had long noticed something strange about her. Despite her being gone, Pakoto remains a girl full of mysteries. Suddenly. Harutora opens up about his thoughts of going to Tokyo, and so he turned the idea into reality, but not without a little persuasion from Natsumi, his master. Soon after, Noxzema comes to pick him up, but her outfit is kind of strange. Natsum explains that the family heir should act manly in dealing with problems. Well, she seems to have taken it quite literally, but yeah, it's tradition. Parador remembers what she's talking about and gently replies that he knows everything. If Harutora knows everything, then Natsuma has nothing to say, but sorry for not saying anything for tricking you. Well, this is probably obvious to us, but Terator is oblivious to the twist of the story, despite not Thomas' implications. Good thing Doji's around to put some sense into him. Since being affected by the spirit disaster though, he has been able to see spirits, and after all this time he has known about Nazima's secret. He even compliments how lovely her ribbon is. Still, Harutora's stupid enough not to see the obvious. Having enough of the embarrassment not to, man walks away, while Harutora apologizes to Toji for her behavior. However, Doji tells him she has always been like this. Finally, Harutora recognizes the ribbon Natsumi is wearing. It's the same one he won for Hakuto at the fair. Yes, Harutora. Whatever you might be thinking, you're probably right. And now the three embark on a new journey to enhance their skills at the prestigious meal prep school. This time around, no more lies, for Harutora is more than willing to fulfill his promise. Boji and Harutora are up for their first day in mage school. Upon entering on your prep school, the two are greeted by the talking statues Alpha and Omega, both high-grade artificial familiars. They have confirmed and registered their spirit energies and even listed Hydrothorax familiar, which he's unaware of. Then they are welcomed by the talking cat, asking them to proceed to the principal's office in the office. The principal introduces herself as Miyakura Hashi. However, she addresses Harutora Antologia, Shishimaru and Kaku Kyoki. Mio goes direct to the point about the rumors involving Nazima that she's supposedly the reincarnation of Yako. The special attention on that someone might be redirected to them, and Mio can only hope they'll get used to it, just like Natsumi did Harutora. Sanchez is first, as he realizes what Natsume has been going through. Mio quickly catches on to that and asks them what they think about Yako. Harutora bluntly replies that Yuku's a famous relative who's a big brother, while Toji knows him as the man who developed the Imperial meal magic at the military's request during the war. Unfortunately, He messed up a ritual causing a devastating spirit disaster in Tokyo. Despite his flaws, Toji believes Yakuza genius suddenly Jin Otomo, their homeroom teacher, interrupts them as he's about to lead them to his class. While walking down the corridor, Mr. Jin tells them that Mio may not look like it, but she pulls most of the strings here. He also explains that the nicknames she addressed earlier are Yako's familiars. The two boys introduce themselves to the class, which prompts curious looks from their classmates. However, Kyoko decides to voice her sentiments. She deems it strange for two students to suddenly transfer at this time of year. Is it because Harutora is from the Tsuchimikado family? That's unacceptable. Suddenly, Not So Much speaks up to refute Kyoko's outrageous speculations. She says it's a severe insult to the Tsuchimikado family. Instead of backing down, Kyoko accuses her of enrolling her familiar in the school so he would always be in nearby, not summed. Then asks Kyoko if she's implying that on your prep bowed to the whims of a lowly student. Besides, if we're talking about family influence in the school, Kyoko has the upper hand. Whether Kyoko accepts it or not, she can't do anything about it. The class watches on as a rivalry between Natsume and Kyoko, and folks before them. After class, Natsumi apologizes to Doji and Harutora for the altercation earlier. She says Kyoko's feisty, but she also got a little worked up. Don't we all? Sometimes, since Noxzema has to attend a special curriculum class, the two make friends with the other students, while the first victim, acquaintance, is Momoya. Doji tells him about their spooky encounter in the countryside to start the conversation. Their main goal, however, is to know more about Kyoko. Momoa tells them that Kyoko is Mia's granddaughter and her father runs the Onmu agency. Simply put, the Kurahashi family is highly prominent. On the other hand, the Tsuchimikado family has a higher historical status. That's why Kyoko sees Natsumi as a rival. Plus, they're the only ones who have defense familiars. Memoir thinks that Natsumi must have a soft spot for Harutora for her to get worked up like that. Well, he might be correct. As Natsumi fumes over Harutora's F-mark, this calls for special training. Yes, a special training will do to have Harutora's brain working later that night. Harutora remembers the familiar his dad gave him as a parting gift. As he gazes at it, the star-shaped symbol on his face goes in surprise. A cute little girl with fluffy ears and tails pops out. To top it all off, she's extremely excited to meet Harutora. Everyone, meet Gon. Keeping Master Harutora safe is Kon's top priority. Even though she has no recollection of it, she has served the City Mikado family in the past. Among Kon's many talents are invisibility, flight, fire manipulation. Cool, and turning Harutora's enemies into rust on her beloved sword, Gachawari. To sum up, Gohan has psychopathic tendencies. Harutora admits he doesn't know what to do with her, yet she's still thrilled to serve him. She also tends to blush at the slightest praise. The fluffy ears and tails are a bonus, and Harutora can't wait to play with them, but because of Hera's stream curiosity about Gonzalez, not Summer, catches him in a very awkward situation. Oh no. The next day in class, Harutora spaces out, and Kyoko isn't pleased with it, so she tells Mr. Jin to abandon those who can't keep up. While that might be one of the school policies, Mr. Jin isn't fond of it. Besides, the school made him their teacher, despite his stance. It's complicated. But it's the reality. Mr. Jin asks Harutora what he thinks, and he says he doesn't want to cause trouble, but he also won't hold back. He will stop at nothing until he achieves his goal of becoming an annual mage. But still, Kyoko keeps insulting him until Kon pops out of nowhere, threatening her with her sword. Harutora quickly grabs and schools his fox spirit, but it's too late, as Kyoko summons our familiar. How cool. And Kakofu? Now that it's come to this, Mr. Jin suggests having a battle of familiars paradors. Unsure about this since he's still a novice. Mr. Jin, however, believes in his capabilities. He says that Harutora only has to recognize and develop his abilities. It wasn't long ago when Harutora was just living his carefree life, but after all he's been through, he's now determined to become an Onmyo mage. Many challenges await him, but together with his friends, he'll overcome them no matter what. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.